Here's why freelancing as a tech is both bad and good. The pros and the cons of freelancing as a tech professional, if you will. We're going to start with the cons or the bad stuff, and then we're going to finish off on a nice positive note, going over the good, the pros. Okay, so to start off with the cons, sourcing for work. I am a software engineer with design experience, UI design experience with a little bit of UX sprinkled in there. And I would have to say that no matter how much I'm skilled in those trades, what I noticed that I lack or what I've lacked in my transition to freelancing has been general business comprehension, right? I would like to say that I may be a decent tech and a decent designer, but what I'm not as familiar with and what I hadn't been as familiar with was having to actually be on the business side of the house for once. And that means marketing and sales was very uncomfortable for me to start out. And it kind of still is, but I have gotten more confident in it since I've been able to gather more clients. And just for a little bit of context, I worked almost 5 years in the tech industry, just standard corporate setup. And then after a series of layoffs in my career, I decided finally to make the official jump and just go and freelance all out. I did it a couple times here and there throughout my career, but it was always very inconsistent because I had a plethora of excuses. The main one was that I was working 9 to 5 and would always find some way to get distracted in the afternoons and not work on my business. Either way, point being is that acquiring clients initially, since I went along in this journey, has been quite difficult. But once I started gathering the first few clients, it got a little bit better. But if you've never have done that before, if you're not comfortable with marketing yourself, selling yourself, if you're not comfortable with talking about payment processors, if you're not comfortable with even knowing how to list your services or how to brand yourself insofar as your skill set, I think you'll find that to be a bit of a learning curve when you're transitioning between just a traditional corporate work to freelancing. The next thing that has been a challenge starting out has been the feast in famine. And I'll talk about this a little bit more, when you're starting out from zero and you don't have you don't have a client book effectively. The challenge there is that in sourcing your first few clients, there's going to be a long time that you're going to go without making any money. And I'll double tap on that in just a sec. But even let's say like you acquire your first clients, even after you do that, there'll be periods where, for example, 1 or 2 weeks, or maybe even an entire month, your clients need a lot of work. So those months, you're making solid money for the duration of your work with them. But then, and there's also some nuance to it because it depends on how you set it up. Maybe like you set it up on an hourly, or maybe you set it up in a lump sum. How you get paid is also something that's very dynamic insofar as frequency. But I'll leave that out for right now. So some weeks you'll be getting a lot of work, and those weeks you can feel pretty flush with cash. I mean, I think it's when you're bootstrapping it. I'm not really at the point right now where I'm just like floating on all my wins. I think it's been a slow grind to gain stability around me. But one of the things that I learned is that sometimes there are ups and downs in terms of pay. So, like I said, you might have those 2 weeks and those 3 weeks, and that you're getting paid well, and then those clients all of a sudden don't need any work, and you don't have any new contracts lined up or any new clients lined up, and then all of a sudden you find yourself with 1 week without making hardly any money at all, right? And I think all that can seem scary if you come from corporate land, but if you stay persistent throughout the month that you're working, you'll generally see if you take it actually serious and you need it to work out because you need to cover your rent, you have expenses, and perhaps you even want to invest. those kind of pressures, or whatever responsibilities, maybe you have a family, stuff like that. Those kind of pressures will put the light underneath your butt to get things together, right? And by the end of the month, if you're really, really serious about it, you'll usually, more than not, you'll realize it's pretty hard for you to lose because you're just that committed to like making things happen, right? But it can be difficult. I know it can be difficult for someone who's just very used to the 1st and 15th kind of payments schedules. Tough clients is another con. Kind of like a tough client can almost be like a boss, but so far in my experience, it has not been as bad. For some reason, when you set it up as a from one professional to another professional working on something, like in the freelance world, there tends to be a higher degree of respect. I don't know why that is, but nonetheless, sometimes you have a specific client that wants things very, very specific, whether that's in design and code, which is the kind of stuff that I do, or web design. That those meeting up to those expectations can be very difficult. And most of my clients have been in web design. But then on the other hand, you also get some clients that really just love your work. They like your style. They like how you operate. And those kind of clients, those are the best because they're working with you because of what you specifically can provide. And that's really, really sick feeling. Life. So another con is that life and work become one. So things kind of get enmeshed. And if you're really serious about it, I think the expectation is that you're going to be working more than 8 hours a day. You know, how effective you are in those 8 hours or how effective you are in the time that you spend on work, I think is another thing. But I do regularly find myself being behind the computer, working more than 8 hours. And that can be challenging because sometimes you're also dealing with a lot of ambiguity, right? If you're a self-taught developer, you've probably dealt with some ambiguity in your career journey. And freelancing, yeah, it's crazy because there's no evident right or wrong, right? And there's so many different ways that you can play the game that spending 12 hours just trying to figure that out, it can be exhausting, and let alone sometimes it may feel like it's not even enough, right? And that can kind of create the surge, and I'll talk about this later, which I think could be a positive thing of you wanting to pick your work back up as soon as possible because you know the kind of attention your business needs in order to succeed is a lot and more than I think what most people would probably be willing to give. And I think that's why that could be a con. Because if you're very used to that 9 to 8 schedule, 9 to 8, that 9 to 5 schedule, you're probably not going to want to go out on your own and start working, 12 hours from freaking 9 in the morning, taking your breaks throughout the day, and then freaking, calling it quits at 9 p.m. That can be tough. And then everything is your responsibility. That's another con. When you're at work, it's everybody always plays the game of like who are we gonna the hot potato with blame, right? Because nobody wants a target on their back, right? But when you're doing your own business, and this is something that I actually like, but I could see this being a con for people, is that it's all on you, man. Like, it's all on you. Like, if you didn't sell anything, if you didn't if your marketing material's not on point, if your service was not the quality that it was supposed to be, if you get if you have an inflow of leads, if you don't have any leads, all that stuff. Of course, the outcome of like that 10% outcome of when somebody says, yes, I will take your product or your service, that's on them, right? But all the little buttons and all the little knobs that you can push that are within your dominion, those kind of things that's all on you. So if you don't show up that day, the sharpest person that you can be, that's completely your fault. And the consequences, I think, are heavier because, damn, you have if you're really bootstrapping it from scratch, and you're building your own source of revenue. Essentially, you're building your own asset in the business that you have in front of you, or that you seek to have. Then there's a lot of pressure, and that responsibility comes back to you, and a lot of people don't want to have that responsibility, and that's why I could see that at a con. And I think I'm talking in general because some of these for me are pros in a way. But I particularly like that responsibility. I like to have that kind of pressure. I'm just kind of I don't know why I'm built like that. I like challenge, and I'll talk about that more on the pro side here in a sec. The next con is it's very hard to focus on anything else. Once you take it super seriously, it's just very difficult to find anything else being quite as important as you actually getting the business off the ground, because from there you can do so many things. You can upgrade your life, you can help your family more. There's just so many benefits that come out of you actually making your business successful that I see it as like this linchpin that once that gets figured out, it's not like the deep emotional aspects of my life get sorted, but from a financial perspective, I definitely see the benefit of creating my own asset, right? And I think that's very powerful. I mean, there's assets in public markets out there. So you can invest in Bitcoin, or you can invest in a tech stock, and those assets with long enough in a long-term horizon, if the asset is sound, will produce money for you. Well, it turns out that you can also build your own asset. And I'm very intrigued by that concept, that you can build something that wasn't there that all of a sudden makes money for you. And that's very powerful. The only thing is that a business is a very hands-on asset to be developing, right? You have to think both strategically, and sometimes you have to be the employee of your own business. And that's something that I struggle with, because I know in the long run, eventually I have to detach myself from just the operations of the business and think more strategically. But I'm not quite at that stage yet. But because of all those little details that require to actually run the business, is very, very difficult to give my mind to anything else, because I'm at capacity. Literally, I sense that I'm at capacity. Yeah. So, okay. And then another con, I'm just going to go over this one quickly because I think I pretty much hit this one already, which is the amount of time you spend working and not making money can be scary. And especially when I was starting out, it's very hard because you're not making any money and you're putting in all this work. YouTube is an aspect of my business, and YouTube is good because I get to share my thoughts and stuff. But it's been very hard to squeeze any money out of YouTube at all, especially like as a creator. And then for my freelancing work, it's like that was very hard initially too, because I didn't have any clients. I had some clients I had worked with before, and that's kind of how I started, right? Like I went out and reached out with people that I had worked with before who had already paid me before, and that's where I started. And then after that, it came down to a game of sourcing, and all to say is that just getting that process initiated and actually getting the money to start coming in was so hard. It was so hard. And I'd never really done it I don't think I'd ever earned anything more than like $900 on my own. I have clients and stuff with YouTube, but like $900 based on just like freelancing, right? Just on like my pure skill set, not on like teaching and stuff. But either way, yeah. So like it was really, really tough to do that, man. Like it was crazy, crazy tough. And it kind of felt like I was like freaking, just kind of talking into the void, or working into the void, where there's like, you keep like, you keep throwing out attempts, and you really don't know if anything's going to work out, right? And the way that I could talk about specifically how I source and like how I get my clients. A lot of it has been through Upwork. Yeah, like if you're not comfortable with working really, really hard for long periods without making money, it's definitely, I think it's going to be a very, very rude awakening. Okay, so now let's turn over to the pros. The first pro I would say is the earning potential is unlimited. Now, this is really, really cool because once you can make X amount of money, say like, let's just say like for an arbitrary number, like let's say like 1 month you found out that you could make 4,000, or you could make like freaking like $7,000 in 1 month. Then that you now have buttons and levers that you can pull to increase that every month, right? And that is an extremely powerful feeling because your upside is just so much higher. Because if you can, especially once you know you can make, if you can make X amount, if you can make $10, you know you can make 20. If you can make 20, you know you can make 100. If you can make 100, you know you can make 1,000. If you can make 1,000, you can make 10,000. If you can make 10,000, you can make 100,000. If you make 100,000, you can make 1,000,000, right? Because it's actually almost like a principle in coding, where if you can solve for the most simple form of the problem, then typically that can scale up, right? And that's really it. That really is what's super cool, because once you're at the end of the month and you count how much you've made, what's been really powerful for me is when I realize, I'm like, dang, like if I can make this much, how much can I make next month? You know, and that is super powerful because you're not capped on how much you can make on a month to month basis, and that ends up being all on you, and that's super powerful. Whereas when you're in corporate, you're capped at your salary. You know, no matter how much you work, you're just gonna make the same every 2 months or every 2 weeks, right? So that's really cool. Another pro is it's very powerful to know that you can market, sell, and deliver a service. And that to me, I think, is more attuned to how the world actually works, right? At least how the United States works, right? Or any country that is capitalist friendly, which is that you have to, do you have a product? Do you have a service? Do you know how to sell it? Do you know who your clients are? Do you know who your target audience is? Do you know who not to sell to? Do you like all those little aspects about a business that make, like, the company you work for probably right now, that make that company work at scale. All those principles you learn, right? And that it just feels so powerful to know that you can now transact with the world, and your skill sets are not just isolated to this like corporate box, but that now you can express them into the world, and through you expressing those skill sets into the world, you can actually make money off of them, and that you're no longer just confined, like I said, to expressing them in a corporate environment, but you could just express them as your own entity. That right there is very, very powerful feeling. And then it's powerful to know you can cover your overhead on your own, and that's another pro, which is at the end of the month when you are going to pay all of your bills, it's a different feeling when you're paying for all those bills and you know you figured out how to cover all of those expenses on your own. You didn't need like a freaking, you didn't need a job. You didn't need a traditional job to do it. You did it all on your own. That feeling is extremely, extremely powerful. I don't know how else to describe it other than it lets you know that you can really make it happen if you put your mind to it and you put your effort, your consistent effort to it. Total creative control is another pro over the direction of your career. And this is something for me that I grew up an artist, right? So it's very, very difficult for me to the rigidity of corporate has always been something that I have struggled with my entire freaking career. So now that I'm doing things on my own and I'm freelancing, it just feels so powerful that I can imagine what I want to see out of the work that I do, what I want to see out of the kind of clients that I want to work for, what I want to see out of how much I want to charge for my services. How all those different little, it almost feels like I can paint, I can paint with what it is that I'm with the world a little bit, right? Or with my business, better said. So that to me I think is very, very stimulating and very challenging, which I'll talk about in a bit. The speed of implementation is another pro. I've worked in places where you get in trouble for working too fast, right? And I hate that because I love just freaking zooming through work. I get a high off of it. I'm that kind of guy. I really, really do enjoy being very, very fast at delivering my work. And sometimes the work is so freaking hard, guys. Sometimes it's so hard, but I don't know what it is. It's kind of like when you're repping at the gym, you like to lift heavy, or you like to get high reps because of the tension that it creates and the the struggle, but then like the push through and like you actually being able to rack the weight, like that feeling of challenging yourself and then overcoming that challenge, that is exhilarating to me. And a lot of times the way that I'm able to do that is by being very fast at delivering, and whether that's a website or whether that's a design, it depends on what service I am providing. But I love how it makes other people feel. I love how it makes my clients feel. I love to see them super, super happy with like, damn, like this dude did an excellent job, and man, he did it super fast. And that kind of delivery, that kind of speed always makes people want to work with you more. And I love the kind of environment that creates. So yeah, it's the speed of implementation. If you like to work fast, it's definitely, you're going to get a lot of chances to do that. Okay, here's another pro. Your skill sets explode with variety. Like you have like you all of a sudden you could market. Like I do stuff with like YouTube, so you can make a video. I don't know if these are the best videos, but I'm definitely more comfortable like in front of the camera than I was like freaking 3 or 4 years ago when I started the freaking thing, right? So like all those like different skills that you have, like I edit content, I can write copy, and the quality and the value of those skills, the market will tell you, right? And I'm not saying that I'm even good at any of them. I probably need tons and tons of work. I mean, I'm assuming right now that I need tons of work on all of them, but just the fact that I even know that they're there, that it's important, like just through education and implementing that education. Like I understand the value of an offer. I understand the importance of making sure that I have call to actions in all of my content. I understand the value of what kind of designing websites in a certain way that are like more likely to lead to conversion. I understand SEO a little bit better. I understand, especially with like the work that I do on my channel, I'm a lot better of a researcher. I'm a lot better of a writer in general, right? And I just love being multifaceted in my skill set, because when you're running your own business, it requires you to be, right? Because you have to be all these different roles in order for your business to be successful. And then another pro is power in knowing you took something from zero to generate revenue. And yes, this is very lucrative. It's very lucrative for me to use my laptop, and then for a while there being no money coming in, and through that same laptop, then there starts to be money coming in, right? And that's very lucrative and very, very powerful to me, because it just shows you just the amount of opportunity that's out there. You just have to be able to think outside the box and be willing to just kind of to not just continue to follow everyone's like traditional track of, hey, you're just going to apply for jobs, you're just going to go work corporate, stuff like that, right? But it's like just like, it's so cool that before I started working on my business, there was nothing there. And once I started working on my business with enough consistency and enough time, all of a sudden there's money, right? And it's not all of a sudden. It takes a lot of work and a lot of nights when you're not making any money before you make any money. I don't want to make it sound like it's some overnight thing, because it's really not. But it is very powerful to know that you can build something out of nothing. And then, as you can tell, probably from what already like me talking, freaking the challenge. I really love the challenge. Like I think like obviously I'm not going to say that I like it to the point where like when I'm being challenged, like I'm the most exhilarated in the world. Like it's very, very tough. I think it's very tough on my mind. It's very tough on my body. It's taking its toll, right? In some sense, but I also don't know what else I would be doing. What else are we supposed to do with our time here on Earth but maximizing our potential, and not in some sort of like, just like, it's probably a high degree of it is vanity, right? But I guess what I don't really see myself. I take the vanity away from it, take the outcomes away from it, and just think about if I'm just thinking about the process, I just don't think I can find myself doing anything else but building something or creating something. I guess that's if you strip everything away on my default, I like to build and create. And you could even say that those two things are the same. And that process in and of itself is something that intrigues me, because it asks a lot of me. It asks a lot of me. And because I like making things, and that is that comes with the challenge, and I like being able to. I like a certain degree of challenge, and I like to see things through. And I don't think that makes me better or worse than people, and I just think that that's an inclination that I have, and that's something that being able to build a business gives me. So that's super cool. Yeah, and to me, I think, and I've kind of mentioned this earlier. Another pro is your ability to create and build an asset like that. That to me is amazing. Like the fact that there's nothing there, and then you go and you build something, and then in time with and I'm talking about years. I'm not talking about months. I'm talking about like you have like that with through long-term commitment, you start to see the fruits of your labor come back in terms of financial blessings from God, and that to me I think is just tremendous. It's just tremendous, and there's an art to it too. Like I man, there's so much stuff that I want to say in this one specific video. Like, I really think that like it's just such a blessing to like be guided by God in this entire journey, and literally just to make something out of my life. Like I think that's super cool, and to have that be something as tangible as a business that's making money. Like that's cool. That's simple, but I think very cool. And as of right now, here's another pro. I generally look forward to my work instead of dreading it. Like there was a couple of days where I wasn't able to work, and or wasn't convenient for me to work, and I remember saying I can't wait to Monday so I could get or something like I can't wait to Monday so I could get back to work. I've never said that in my entire life. Or at least I don't think so. At least I don't think that I've said that, but I caught myself. I was like, "Holy crap! Did I just say that? That's so weird, right?" But yeah, no, it's super cool to actually like want to work, right? Because of the challenge of it. It's like if you've ever played like any video game that you really wanted to pass, and it starts to kind of feel like that, where like you show up and you're always getting your butt kicked at this like specific level, or there's like this specific situation that always makes you lose in the game, and you just keep coming back. You always kind of look forward to coming back to deal with the challenge, because maybe that day is the day that you really you finally break through. And business kind of has that I think has bit me in that way, and insofar as like a bug of it, which is that like I like showing up and seeing like how I do. Sometimes I get my ass kicked. Sometimes I come out with a win. More L's than W's, but those are lessons, not losses, right? But the wins that I do come out with, I'm very grateful for, because they cost a lot. They cost the time, the effort. And I'm just very grateful to God, because I really don't even I could try 110%, but if God's not there opening the way, giving me those blessings, none of this would be possible. And all glory to Jesus, for real. And just to cap it off here, that there's like it's like seductive and almost like, I don't know how else to put it, but just putting your worth on the line, pretty like really just taking a bet on God being able to provide for you, on when when the apostles went out to evangelize, they were sent out without Jesus told them to essentially go bare, don't take anything, any of these material things that were almost like false senses of security. And you kind of feel that when you start from zero, that you don't have the traditional job anymore. You just have your wits and your MacBook, right? So you're bare bones, and it's almost like this adventure, when God calls to Abraham in in the Old Testament, and he goes out to the adventure, right? And you have some hesitancy, and maybe you don't want to do it, and you don't know if it's possible, and you're like, you don't know if you're going to be able to afford rent and all these things, but you make that jump, and you make the commitment to not look back. And because of that commitment, you start from wanting it to you need it. You need to be successful, and and that necessity is where God provides, because I don't know what it is. I'm not going to dare to guess, but putting your faith in that He will provide, and that all you have to do is show up every day and work your butt off, then that's illuminates me. That really does illuminate me. And yeah, it's definitely something that I didn't have before. I didn't have it in the same way. And I'm not saying that you can't have that in corporate. Maybe you can. But yeah, this is, I guess that may mean that this is the way for me. But it might not be the way for you. And that's why I made this video, so that you can check it out. And if you're thinking about doing freelancing, if you're currently working and you want to figure out how to build your own business, or any kind of scenario, if you're just interested in the aspect of freelancing, or actually freaking doing it, then I think hopefully this video gives you an idea of what to not look forward to and what to look forward to, right? But yeah, if you like the video, make sure to like, subscribe, comment as well. And other than that, if you are looking for a job in corporate, I do coaching. I have my consultations below, so go ahead and book a consultation there. I got one guy hired this year, and then I got another one of my clients a salary raise. I'm not sure if it's a salary, but I got him a pay raise after they got hired. And if you don't have any funds, or you are a DIY kind of person, DIY kind of guy, please make sure to watch this video right here, and I will teach you all the strategies that I teach my clients on how to find work in corporate for free. So other than that, thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.